Hello everyone, it's Miss V here, and I just want to start off by saying that I hope everybody is doing well, and I hope you guys are all safe and healthy. I know it's been such a difficult time for a lot of you and for a lot of people in general in society right now due to the pandemic that we're experiencing, and I know it was definitely not something that we were expecting or anticipating. We definitely weren't expecting this to hit so hard for us, so it's been definitely a learning process for everybody, but it's even much more harder for you guys just because you're so used to having a routine and having a schedule and going to school every day and seeing your friends and playing the sports and being in the activities and the clubs and being just social overall. So I get that it's been a little bit more of an adjustment for you guys. And I hope things get better very quickly so we could kind of get back to how we used to be, or at least a little bit less isolated than what we are right now. I know our nation is just so used to being on the go and constantly, like I said, going, and going. So this kind of pause has been such a difficult part. But as much as we're feeling isolated and feeling many emotions right now, I definitely will want to encourage you guys to communicate with each other, communicate with your friends, communicate with your parents or your siblings or your family members or teachers or anybody that you feel comfortable enough to communicate with, just because as much as we're feeling disconnected from one another, we don't actually have to be. The great thing about society today is the fact that we have the advanced technology to stay connected. And using FaceTime or using your social media apps or using texting or calling or emailing or whatever you guys want to use to stay connected to each other, it's there and it's at our fingertips for the most of us. And if we have it, I definitely want to encourage you to use it just because it helps a little bit to stay connected again and not feel as if you are being completely isolated. So that is my little key bit of advice, if I could give anybody advice, and I hope it works or helps in some way. I just wanted to also say thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your classroom. I know it's a struggle having people come in and out throughout the school year, and this pandemic has definitely been a curveball to everybody's routine and schedule, so it's a little bit more harder to kind of readjust. So I definitely appreciate everybody being so accepting of me and welcoming me into the classroom. And I am very thankful to be a part of the classroom and work alongside Miss Roman and with everybody else. And I know you haven't seen me the last few weeks, but I'm still here and I'm still working with Miss Roman behind the scenes. I wish I could be more involved into the classroom, and we're kind of working on that right now. It's been a little struggle just due to the technological issues that we've been experiencing getting me into the Google Classroom. So that's a whole different topic. But that being said, I'm still here, I'm still present, and I still ask Miss Roman about the class and how everybody's doing. And I continue to think about you guys, and I am hoping that maybe we could get back into the classroom before my semester ends and we don't get to see each other again. But if not, I hope that this video helps, and I hope that I could try to connect to you guys in any kind of way that I can. So the next big thing I wanted to say is the unit that you are currently working on regarding the rise of dictatorship and the Holocaust and World War II. That was the time period when I learned about it, is what sparked my interest in learning about history and wanting to dive deeper into it. And now it's what makes me strive to be a history teacher myself. This time period, as difficult as it is to learn about, it's definitely something that opened my eyes and made me want to again learn more and do better and be a better active participant in my society. And the biggest thing that I learned from this unit is just to be kind to one another, just because there's so much ugliness that goes around in the world that it will be easier if we could just be kind and be there for one another, especially in difficult times. So I think during this time of isolation, the thing that I will definitely encourage again is just to reach out to one another and just be there for each other in any kind of way that you can. World War II was very difficult, and it was a hard thing to go through, especially since the US just got out of World War I, and all the other countries as well who fought in World War I just got done with the war, so they didn't want to go into a second war. But with Hitler rising to power, and also with Italy and Japan, with them rising to power, it became a very, very negative, forceful field for the European cultures. And as Hitler became rising into power and taking over the Germany and all the European countries surrounding Germany, he made it so that many Jews were isolated from the world by taking away their jobs, separating them from their family members and their loved ones, and restricting them to a specific religion and person, and just kind of like making them feel as if they weren't nothing. And it's such a horrible time period. And the thing that spoke volumes to me when I learned about this is when I was in the 6th grade, I was able and fortunate enough to speak to a Holocaust survivor. And that definitely changed my life around, because being able to hear the words from a person who went through it, from a person who experienced it, it makes it feel that much more real. And I know it's harder nowadays just because we don't hear many people surviving that, and we don't see it, and there's less and less people who were alive during that time period when it happened. So we only have the books and the history and the diaries and things that were left behind, which is all very great resources, but it's not the same as actually physically being able to interact with somebody from that. And the thing that I learned the most is the isolation was so very, very real for many, many millions of people during this time period. And like I said, they were restricted of who they were, their identity, they were restricted from every little aspect of life. And a lot of people were like, oh, why didn't you just run away or hide? And a lot of Jewish people and a lot of other people who were targeted during this time period did try to go into hiding. So as Hitler rose to power, some Jewish people were able to hide by using false identification. So when they had to go out and about, there was paperwork that they had to carry with them at all times. Some people were good at forging this paperwork in order to conceal their true identity as being a Jewish person. Others were not as fortunate. They had to physically go hide away in attics, basements, or other sorts of shelters. And by doing this, they needed assistance from a helper or somebody that they knew, and that was very little during this time period, just because of how people were so fearful of Hitler and the Nazis and everybody else. So going into hiding took a big toll emotionally, physically, and psychologically on everybody involved, including the people who were helping the Jews try to escape this kind of lifestyle. It wasn't an easy decision to make, but it was the only option many of them had. There were many risks involved, like I said, and most of those risks resulted in death or being sent to concentration camps. And it's something that people took just to try to be free in some sort of way. The biggest part of that is children weren't exempt from this. So a lot of families had to go in hiding, and some of them were separated from the kids and the parents, and some of them were fortunate enough to stay together as a family into hiding. But it makes it even more difficult on children, especially the adolescent range, because they know something's going on, they know something's bad is happening, but they don't know exactly 100% in detail as to what's happening. So it makes it hard for them to understand the life that they're living in. And it just makes it completely hard for somebody to go from having a lifestyle to completely depending on other people for food and shelter and water and news from the outside world, medicine, clothes, and all other essential things that they needed for their life to survive. They had to then depend on somebody else for this kind of help. And that just made them in constant fear for their life. And again, that isolation piece is super important because living like that wasn't easy in any kind of way, shape, or form. And with that all happening, I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into this topic just because I want to have you guys be able to take away something from this, just like I did in any kind of way. If you could relate to something, or if something stands out to you and makes you want to just be kind or be nice to one another, or if you want to become more active in your society or community in any kind of way, and anything that you could do to take away from this lesson, I definitely want you guys to do it because it's important for us to stick together. Like I said from the very beginning, we kind of could relate to the isolation part just from this pandemic now, and then what's happening, what to compare to what happened back then. Even though the situations aren't the same thing, isolation still takes a toll on everybody in different ways and forms and shapes and sizes and whatever you need to like connect the pieces to. So for this project that I've been working on for the class, I want to talk and discuss about the Diary of Anne Frank. During this point in time, she was a Jewish girl who had to go into hiding with her family members. And I'm not going to go too much more into detail. Some of you may already know her story and some of you may not, and that's okay because we're going to just go over everything one more time if you have, and if you haven't, it's great because we're going to go over it. But during this time, I am going to have you guys watch some video clips regarding how her life was like during hiding and what it was like for the Jewish people who had to resort to hiding. And then as we go through it, there's going to be some activities and there's going to be a final part of the project at the very end that I'm excited for, and I hope that you guys enjoy. Remember to take notes because it's going to be very important to kind of look back on, and especially during the activities and throughout the whole project and everything. So I know I've talked a lot, and I just wanted to say I hope you enjoy this project, and I will see you soon. Thank you. Bye.